How's it going, everyone? This next player that the Packers have had in their top 30 visit for their draft is kind of under the radar pick. It's kind of got Romeo Dobbs vibes in a way, but that is Dontayvion Wicks, wide receiver from the University of Virginia. And he's not the fastest receiver. He is a 6'1 receiver at 206 pounds, and he only ran a 4.62 at the combine, but increased his time to a 4.57 on his pro day. He's currently ranked 120th overall out of all the draft prospects and 18th currently out of all the receivers. He was ranked as high as 58 overall, and it's kind of had a slide down the draft board. And so you might be wondering, if you haven't heard of Dontayvion, is why are we caring so much, or why should we entirely care about a wide receiver that doesn't seem to be that fast and is sliding down the draft board? And this is where the Romeo Dobbs kind of vibes come into play, because Romeo Dobbs kind of slid down the board and was considered a steal by the Packers. And during the first half and in training camp, he kind of looked like a steal. So when you see his current speed, his 40-yard time on paper, not that fast. But when you watch him play, he seems to play a lot faster on the game tape and on the field. So I feel like his 40-yard time is not really indicative of his actual speed, and that's one of the reasons why he's so far slid down the draft board. And then there's his broad jump. He had a 10-foot, 10-inch broad jump at the combine, which was best for in the top 9th percentile of all the receivers. And he is just a very explosive player. So this player is kind of the receiver the Packers tend to look for, that nice big body receiver who can move and is very explosive, especially in the short field. Yes, he had a 4.62 40-yard time, but his 10-yard split was a 1.53, which is considered very elite in the 10-yard split, and he's very explosive in the short yardage area. And that's what's kind of making him even more intriguing for the Packers. And all the while, he did have a RAS score of a 9.49. So once again, he is fitting exactly what the Packers look for. Big body receiver. He's not the fastest, but we do have Christian Watson, so that's okay. And he can move, and he's very explosive, and he has a high RAS score. He's just hitting all the check boxes that the Packers tend to look for in a player at the receiver position. Now, for his college career, he only ended up playing really 2 years. In his sophomore year, he sat out due to the COVID-19 virus, so he sat out the entire year. Then in 2021, this is where he had his best year. He had 57 catches for 1,203 yards and 9 touchdowns, which was a 21.1 average. So had a very amazing year, and I feel like if he did declare for the draft, he might be a little higher than he is right now. But then last year is where the question mark, and it's why he's kind of sliding down the draft as well. In 2022, he only had 30 catches for 430 yards, 2 touchdowns, which was a 14.3 yard average. So there are question marks of why did he do so good in 2021 but not in 2022? Well, there are some variables to that. So for one, he did have a different offense in 2022 than from 2021. And it seemed like it was more of a timing offense. So maybe they just didn't get the timing down between the receiver and the quarterback, and that kind of messed up some things. But then the second part, and this is another reason of why he's kind of sliding down the draft board, is he had 9 drops. And these weren't like 9, like, oh man, I can see why I dropped that. No, some of these catches were catches he should have made, and it looked like he just wasn't focusing on the ball enough. And this is why he's been sliding. He's only had 1 good year. He's not the most, I don't want to say explosive because he's very explosive, the fastest player out of all the receivers, especially on paper. So there are multiple reasons of why he's sliding down this draft board, but it's still intriguing because when you watch him play, there could be something special with him, and that's where the Packers bring him in and interview him. Hey, probably ask him questions. What do you think led to your, it was a down year in 2022? And also, I should note that in 2021, he did play 12 games, but in 2022, he did get injured and only played 8 games, but still had a 14.1 yard average rate per catch compared to 2021's 21.3 or 2 yard average catch. So definitely dropped in his average yards per catch, but once again, that could also be because of the offense. So currently he has a 4th round draft grade, which is, once again, very similar to Romeo Dobbs. If he had a 3rd round draft grade and we drafted him in 3rd round, which could still happen because he's starting to get some more buzz of how he's under the radar, and he could be a steal at the 4th round. Maybe he's the first pick that succeeds in a third round, or we just continue the trend at sucking in the 3rd round. So we'll see what happens on that part if we decide to go get him. Then there's also where he could potentially play. In his college career, he mostly played on the outside and didn't really play any slot. He pretty much didn't play any special teams. So he's going to have to find a role, especially as a rookie, especially if he did have some drop problems and they want to work on his drop problems, because he did make a lot of contested catches and some very difficult catches. So the skill is there and the talent is there. It's just what caused the sudden drops last year. Was it a fluke? Was it just not focusing and seeing the ball in? Was it a timing offense and the timing was off? That's where the questions lie. So what do you get out of Dontayvion Wicks as of right now? Well, he's a very good route runner. He has deceptive speed as of right now, because it seems like he is able to get behind the corner. He does set up corners very well and adjusting his speed during his routes. So he's very good at setting up corners to get behind them, despite him not having the greatest speed. And he's very good with his double moves, which adds on to he's a very good route runner, and is pretty much most of his separation is caused because of his route runner. His route running is his bread and butter. And that's what's allowed him to get so much separation, especially when you watch him on film. Now, the bad, well, he had a lot of drops. That is a very big concern. If you can't catch the ball, you don't have a job in the NFL as a receiver. It's plain and simple, unless you're super fast, which he is not. And looking at that's really his biggest knock is, does he have reliable hands? Can he catch? He's already a good route runner. He's going to develop that further with the wide receiver coaches in the NFL, so there's no really fear in that. He's already a hard worker. He's got the work ethic. And I feel like under the right system and under the right group, he could thrive. Like, he is probably an under-the-radar player to where, as of right now, there's some concerns. But if you develop him, give him time, and work on those hands, and increase his route running, like perfect it even more, he could become a very good number 2. And who knows, maybe a number 1 receiver. But definitely a very good number 2 receiver at the least. So it's going to be interesting if the Packers do decide to wait for him in round 4 or try to get him in round 3, or how the Packers actually feel about Dontayvion Wicks. He is a very good receiver. The Packers, this guy fits the Packers. He really does. Big body receiver, high RAS score, very explosive in the short area. And I actually did forget to mention, he's a willing and pretty good run blocker. So once again, Matt LaFleur loves his receivers blocking. He likes doing it. He's willing to do it. So add on to that. So another reason why he's probably a very good fit for the Packers. Can he play the slot, or will he play the slot? I don't know. He's got the quickness to probably be able to do it. He's just mostly played on the outside at University of Virginia. But it's going to be interesting come draft time to see where he falls, and if he actually does fall to us, especially depending on how the first round goes, and if we get a receiver. Or if we just wait till the later rounds to get a receiver and maybe not even pick up a veteran receiver at this rate. But let me know what you think down in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and as always, go Pack Go.